Well, President Obama today will challenge his critics in American business to step up investments and to boost hiring to get that jobless rate down. Joining us this morning is Glenn Hubbard. He's the dean of the Columbia University Business School and also the former chairman of the Council of Economic Advisors under President George W. Bush. Dean Hubbard, good to see you again.
Likewise.
And we know that the president has been trying to reboot his relationship with business. He's hired Bill Daley, hired Jeff Immelt, says he's going to streamline red tape, in government. Is he doing enough here?
Well, the president clearly seems serious about this, and it's very important. Prior to the November elections, the administration had a great deal of anti-business rhetoric in tax, in trade, and regulation. I think we ought to give the president every opportunity to change that, and I think the chamber will. I think to be taken seriously, he'll have to really focus on investment, on corporate taxation, and on saving, and on getting the government's budget in line.
Okay, among those that you just named, Dean Hubbard, what's going to be most important for big business?
Well, I think two things. One is the rate of corporate tax, which makes the U.S. a very, very tough place to do business globally. The second is government spending and getting the government's budget in line. I say that because if we don't, there's the probability of significant future tax increases, which discourages investment and job creation today. The president can lead on both of those. He has very good proposals floating around to use. He just has to do it.
Is all of that, though, Dean Hubbard, going to get President Obama to the end game, which is to get these companies to start hiring?
Well, I think that the hiring situation is very complicated. It's not just policy uncertainty that businesses face. It's also the sluggish rate of growth of aggregate demand. And there again, the president needs to be very, very clear about a pro-growth policy. Again, he can lead there.
Would you agree with the chamber that some of his policies, like health care reform, like climate legislation, actually cost the U.S. jobs? Would you agree with that?
It's certainly the case that the health care reform is a job killer in a couple of ways. One is the very large regulation around job creation. Second, it's an ocean of new spending that will have to be financed by large tax increases. We'll need to do much better here if we want to contribute to job creation.
So that sounds like Dean Hubbard, a linchpin of what the big business wants then, a change, an overhaul in that reform, in that health care reform.
Well, I don't think the business community is completely unified. My point is simply that if we want to encourage job creation, we need to lower hiring costs. Health care reform went the other way, and we need to get the government's budget in line, and health care is a big part of that.
Dean Hubbard, I want to just read back to you. Back in 2008, I know when President Obama was first elected, you had written an op-ed saying that there were 4 things that the president should do to reboot the economy, so to speak. One of them was to hire Paul Volcker as Treasury Secretary. You talked about restoring credit, keeping taxes low, and also supporting asset prices. I'm just kind of shortening and summing that up. We know we didn't get Volcker as Treasury Secretary, but he's gone a long way towards some of those goals. I mean, would you say that he's progressed well enough now?
I would not. I think for the administration to make progress, we really have to clarify the future. That's really a big job of a president, to take a lead on what's the tax system we want. How are we going to rein in government spending? We've really heard very little from the president. Now, maybe he'll open up with his new budget, maybe this chamber speech, but he really has to lead here, and so far, he simply has not.
Then today, what do you expect that you want to hear that's different today, then?
Well, I'd like to hear some specifics from the president about what he'd like to do with business taxation, not just rhetoric, but an idea, and some indication of whether his budget will be trying to stabilize the debt to GDP ratio in the large sea of government deficits the country faces. If he makes progress on those two things, I think the business community should definitely listen up.
Ultimately, though, what's going to matter in getting this jobless rate down, though? It's not going to be the budget deficit, is it? I mean, what's going to get this jobless rate down?
There's no silver bullet. The problem we have with unemployment isn't simply just about the financial crisis. It's about structural problems we have in our economy. But if we move to a higher investment economy, if we lower hiring costs, and we come up with better ways to help people out of work find new work, we can make real progress. The president can lead on each one of those.
Okay. Dean Hubbard, we will leave it there. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.